Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Laurie. Here's what we're going to do today. I filmed a shorts video the other day and I had such a good time doing it. I want to do it in a longer format for you guys. I took a sheet of paper and I glued all the scraps that were around me, well not all, but some of the scraps that were around me onto the paper, and then from the paper I was able to get 3 postcards, 2 ATCs artist trading cards, and a tag. So I want to do the same thing today, and what I'm going to use for the paper is a mixed media paper. This is being pulled out of a mixed media visual journal, and the paper is 9 by 12 and it's 90 pounds. So it's not a very heavy paper, but it's substantial enough to hold up to whatever I'm going to do to it, just all the stuff. And I'll show you real quick what the postcards look like. They're postcard size, I should say. You can use them as postcards if you want to. I just love the background. I think it's so pretty. So there's the 3 postcards. I really like these colors, so maybe we'll stick with this. And this is one of the ATCs. I just used a partial stamp cutout. And the other one says Beauty, and I used the other half of the stamp. So it goes together like that. And then this is the tag. I did not cover the back. I left it open. I didn't cover any of these backs. Okay, so I'm going to start with a piece of paper, 9 by 12. I may cover 2 sheets, but I've got all these scraps sitting here. I'll just grab a handful. All these scraps sitting up here. And I'm just going to start grabbing them and gluing them down to my paper, and I'm going to use just a regular glue stick. And then after I get my papers glued down, that's when all the layering starts. And if you have trouble loosening up and creating layers, this is a really good exercise to practice that, because there's several layers on here. All right, I've got my 2 papers cut out, and I had to cut these because they don't tear out, and I didn't want to tear these, so I wanted to tell you, if you have something like this in your notebook when you're done, you can use these in your collage too. You can paint them if you want to, or glue them down, then paint them. It'll give you a little bit of texture in the background. Also, you could use them as a little bit of a stencil or a mask if you wanted to. So I've been laying down some papers. I don't know if I'll use that one. If they've got a straight edge, I go ahead and put them on the straight edge of the paper. And then whatever gaps I have in the paper as we go along, I fill in with little things, like if you have little circles and things like that cut out, you fill in your little spaces, but you'll see that in a second as we get further along. Now you can, and it makes it easier actually, just overlap your paper, and when you're done, you're going to trim it up anyway. So don't worry about getting it exact if you don't have a straight edge and you want something on the edge. Here's an odd piece. I might put this in the center here. So I'm just going to show you what I'm going to do, and then I'll go do it and come back. I'm just going to take my pieces and I'm going to smear glue all over them. Make sure all the edges are covered. And if they're not, that's fine, because you're probably going to be sealing your cards anyway. Or keep it in mind that you can seal your cards. I'm just going to stick this down here. Okay, and we are on our way. I have one of my pages almost covered, and I wanted to come back before I finish to show you how I finish off. I do overlap my papers, so don't be concerned about covering something, because really you're going to be covering a lot of some things. I start looking for little pieces that will fill in gaps, and then I start gluing those over the little holes. I like to use shapes, but I didn't on this one, so I just turn it till it fits in there better. But I've got a circle here that I could use somewhere, like right there. It needs a place right here. It'd probably be better there. So I'll just take my circle and I glue it right there over that opening. This I don't like, and I have never used it because I keep looking at it thinking I don't like it. So I'm just going to take it apart, and I'll use a few pieces on here. We'll put it to good use. Good morning. It's the next day and my papers are ready. I hope you are ready to do some layering, because that's what we're going to do, and I hope you're playing along. Now we're going to pick some stencils. So I've got my book of stencils here. These are the medium-sized stencils, and I've already picked out a few I want to use, but I thought I would show you how I keep my stencils in this album. And I just slide them in the sheets. So I'm gonna do one paper similar to the one I did in the shorts video, and then I'm gonna do one paper with different colors and try to make them look different. And I've pulled out the colors I used on the first page. I don't remember exactly the colors. I know I used these two and this one, but I don't know about these two, so we're just gonna wing it. So we'll start with this one, put this one aside. Oh, I wanna change this paper out. I think it's time to move on to another paper. And I've got a little paper plate to put my paint in. So I'm just gonna take my makeup sponge, I dab it in my paint. I don't worry about clean stenciling because this is gonna have so many layers, it's not gonna matter. I'm just looking for color and some shape. So I just dab some on and I'm just gonna start stenciling my fern in. Now you can't see it real well, but that's not the point. The point is it's there. I can see some of it. So I'm going to turn my paper and I'm just going to find another space to put some stenciling. And whatever I don't use will go on my drop paper below me and we'll start another paper. Okay. So I'm going to put this to the side for a second. I don't really wait for drying time for stenciling too long. Now we got our drop paper started. All right, I'm gonna go with the pink next. I'm gonna use this stencil and I'm not cleaning my sponge. Okay, let's take a look. There's a few, you can see a little bit right there and this one down here. So I'm just gonna keep doing more until I get on there what I want and then we'll go to our next stencil. Also is get on the edge of your paper so that little areas like this that don't have much, get some color. By the time we're done, there'll be plenty of color, so you don't have to really worry. The sponge is getting really old, so I need to cut it again. When your sponges get yucky and they start tearing off, just cut the tip off. Next one we're gonna do, we're gonna use the black plum for that one. And again, not cleaning the sponge. Isn't that pretty? That's just making me happy. Still using the same sponge, still haven't cleaned it. I'm not worried about stems, and I didn't worry about stems and leaves on the flowers. If you get them on there, it's okay, but that's not what I was going for. I put more paint out than I needed for that one, and my drop paper is filling out. So now we want to use the vine. All right, that one's done. One more stencil to go. We're going to use the flowers again. This is very thin because mostly water came out, so I may have to do it again. Actually, I'm not. I'm just not going to worry about it. See, look how messy, but it looks so good. I am loving this. Right, it has to dry. Drop paper's got the excess on there, and I'm not worrying about the back. You can cover the back if you want to, you can paint the back if you want to, or you can leave it like this if you want to. Where is my other one? Here it is. Let's compare them, and then when I come back, we'll start doing some ink work. So get your inks out or water down your paints or whatever it is you're going to use. You could use watercolors, children's paint. If you have markers that are watercolor, you can use markers and just spread them around that way. It might not have the same effect, but it'll be your own unique little piece. We're gonna do this one first. Okay, we're gonna use fluorescent red and the yellow. Have some water nearby. I have water sitting over here, and I have a brush that's really kind of soft that will smear things around. I'm just gonna take my first color, and I'm just gonna scribble on here a little bit. It's not gonna stay that shape. I just like to do it because it's fun. I could just do that. Let's see if that's enough. Let's take our brush and get it really wet, dripping wet. Don't dry it off, just dripping wet. And start moving this color around. Just use some freedom with your hand. Hold the brush at the tip of your hand. If you feel like you have too much control, put more water on your brush. If you see an area where it needs a little color or something, drag your color over there. Let your paper drip. let it move around. Your drop paper is going to catch anything below it. I've got some white area there. I'll put some in there. Just have fun with it. If it drops on your paper, that's good. Your drop paper will have some interest when you go to use it. Put some down in here. Okay. So now I'm not drying, I'm leaving it just as it is, not cleaning my brush, gonna grab my yellow. See how much freedom and fun this is? You don't have to do all this cleaning in between. It's gonna drop some yellow down and do the same thing. Okay, now the edges need a little bit more than what I have on there. Pick the color you want, dab a little, put some down. You can add more paint if you want to. If you don't like an area, this area down here is not my favorite, so I'm going to add more color down here. I think I'll add some more of this red too. Now this is really wet, and if you wanted to, you could turn this on your drop paper and smoosh off the excess, but I want to keep all this color on there, so I'm not going to do it. I could pick up the color that's there with this paper though. It won't be seen, but I could pick it up so it's not being wasted. On this one, I'm going to start with teal. Do the same thing. And I did clean my brush in between papers just in case I didn't like the color blend. It's not hard to clean because your brush is really saturated and wet, so it would make it really easy to get whatever's in there off. And I'm wetting this real good because I don't want too dark on here. Then I'll spread it around. Okay, I'm gonna let this run a little bit. I'm not going to smear this in the paper too much because I don't want this to monopolize the color of the paper, because we've got another color to add in. So I'm going to lay that down like this. And then look at my drop paper. How cool. And that's what my paper looks like. And you can see some of the lines here. I left those by accident, but I like them, so I'm just going to let it go. So now I want to use the green. I don't know if I want to use a lot of green though, so I'm going to test it first. Ooh. It blends in with the teal, which I kind of thought might happen and look very similar, but we might get some in some areas that don't look like that. That look different. So just let it run. Do some on the other end. Let that run. So some of it will blend with the teal and kind of look the same as it already was, and some of it will be on its own a color green, like right in here. I'm going to dry this one a little bit because I want to put this purple lake on it, and I don't want it to blend in with that teal too much. I've dried a little bit, but this one has a little bit left on it, and I'm going to see what happens when I layer these two together and just wipe it like this. See, it just adds a little bit to this one. It didn't do anything to this one. The next thing I want to do is some stamping, and I'm going to use black paint. I'm not going to use a ink pad. So I'm going to put some black paint on my palette, which is flat. It's palette paper, like this. I've showed you this before, but in case you're new, that's what I'm using. And I'm going to use this roller. It's called Giant Roller Doodle, and it's curved chevron. I'm just going to use that. I'm going to put some on the palette And then I'm going to spread it out a little bit with my shaper tool just to get it a little more flat instead of all gummed up in one area. And take my roller and run it through. And I'm just going to roll my page. I just want some contrast, so that's good. Let's do the other one. All right, so I'm going to use the rest of this paint on my painty paper here. On the shorts video, I used this. It's a Abstract Innovative Acrylic Sennelier 3D liner. I'm going to use that on the first paper we created. The second paper, I don't have any of these that the color would really work great. I only have 3 colors, a gold, this color, and black. So I think I'll try the gold, but it may not stand out enough. So I may switch over to this, which I've had these forever. I don't even know if you can still get them. Probably can. It's called Irresistible, and it's got a fine line needle on the end, and you can write with it and embellish with it. So hopefully it'll work, and this little needle fits down into that hole. Before I go on to the papers, I wanted to see if my palette paper would allow me to pull up the rest of that black paint on some deli paper. If it would pull any of this color below it, why not, since I've got it here. Let's go ahead and smear that around. I've done these little pulls on my palette paper before and gotten some interesting things. I think I've showed you in a video, but if you don't have a jelly plate, or if you don't feel like dragging it out, which is usually my case, this will work too. Ooh, I did get some color. Not a lot, but I did get some. Let's try it again. Let's try it over here. If I let it dry on there, I probably have better results, but who's got time to let things dry? We just don't have time for that. I'll mush it down hard and see if that helps. Ooh, yeah. Look at that. Those are cool colors in the background. What I'll use this for, who knows? I don't know. Maybe nothing, maybe something. Let's try this little section over here since it's still wet. I'll put it back down and see if it pulls up some paint. I know we're getting off on a little rabbit trail here, but if you were in my art room with me, that's what we'd be doing right now, going off on a rabbit trail. And you're in my art room. Even if you're not in person, you're here. Ooh, yeah. Not a lot, but if I let it dry, it would pull more. But isn't that interesting? Okay, let's go back to what we were doing. I'll get back on track. Okay, let's try this liner. What we're gonna do is write some words and draw lines and circles or shapes or whatever you wanna do. And then, because I didn't wanna wait for it to dry and because I don't want it 3D, I don't want it puffy, I turned it over and I swished it. Okay, so that's what we're gonna do. Get it to start coming out. Here we go. Then I turned it over, smushed it, and that's what we have. Okay, so this has to dry. This is very wet. I might stop using this paper for the moment. So let's try it on here. I'm gonna try the gold and see how I like it. Hopefully it'll stand out enough. If not, we'll change over to the yellow. Okay, I like that. Hopefully it'll look good once we do that. Ooh, I like it. That looks good. And look what we have on our paper to start. Very good. I've got this cheap set of oil pastels. It's by Pentel Arts. I got it at Hobby Lobby a long time ago. And I'm just gonna pick a couple of colors. And this paint that's drying isn't gonna be affected because I wanna fill in areas that don't have paint anyway. So this is something we can go ahead and do. But I'm gonna take a couple of colors. Let me show you what I've got here. I'm going to take a couple of colors, like lighter colors that will show up on this. pretty good. And well, there's one I wanted to use, but I don't see it. I guess it's in my other set. I have another set that has a color that I really like to use, but we'll stick with this one. We'll do a light blue. And we'll do white. And I'm just going to make lines, marks. Let me find an area where this will look good right here. Make marks like this. Just to fill in. Turn your paper so everything doesn't go the same direction. I'm just going to fill in where it needs it or where I want it. Just for fun, just for another layer. Let's switch over to the blue. Okay, then I'm going to take my white one and I'm just going to draw hearts. I like hearts. We'll do hearts. And they're not perfect hearts. They're just wonky looking hearts, and they are going over. That's not a heart. We'll do that. It is going over paint, so I did jump the gun a little bit there, but that's okay. It seems to be working out fine. So now we need to switch to this paper, and I'm going to find the colors I want to use on here. For this one, I changed the blue for a really light purpley color, like a lavender color. Switch over to this green. Go out to the edge of your paper because a lot of times the edges get ignored. And that's okay, you can do something with them later, but while you're doing this, you might as well go ahead and add it to the edges. Then let's do some funky little hearts again. How about we call that done? All right, the next step. If you guys want to keep layering, if you don't want to stop where I stopped, keep on layering. Don't let me hold you back. Keep on going if you want to, but I'm going to stop here because otherwise the video would be an all day long video. And we all can't stay here all day long, can we? Although I wish we could. All right, I'm going to cut mine now and then we're going to add to them a little bit. But what I did was I turned my paper over. I can get 3 postcards, which are 4 by 6. I can get 2 ATCs, which are 2.5 by 3.5, and I can get 1 tag, which is left this little space right here. So all I did, since this is a 8.5 by 12 piece of paper, I measured 6 inches in and drew my line, and then I measured 4 inches, drew my line, 4 inches, drew my line to this line, the first line that I drew. This is 2.5 here that's left. I measured up 3.5 inches, marked it, 3.5 inches, marked it, and I just left this whatever it is because we'll cut it down and you won't have that much left over because the tag size I use is like this. It'll fit in there and it'll just cut off the excess. So do that to your papers and then cut them. I'm going to use a ruler and a X-Acto knife and a self-healing mat, and I'm going to go slow so I don't slice any fingers off. If you want to cut yours with scissors, go right ahead. If I cut mine with scissors, I'll have variation in my size because I just don't cut a straight line. I just don't. I have my cards, ATCs, and tag cut out. Here's what they look like, and I have not created the tag yet. I've left the pieces the sizes that I cut them. Once I show you these, I'll show you what I do with the tag. So here's the ATC sizes. And you can turn them any direction you want to turn them. There's the tag that we're going to make. Here's one of the cards, the postcard size. Any direction. They all might tell you what they want to do. You know, this one's speaking to me and saying, go this way. And this is the other set over here. 2 ATCs. The tag we're going to make, love this one, and the postcard size. Okay, so all I do for the tag, I go ahead and make the tag so that I can decorate it without worrying that I'm going to cut something off. I just lay a standard size manila tag down on top of it. And I decide which area I want the most, what I don't mind losing, what I want to keep. I want to keep this, so I'm going to lose this side. So I'm going to line it up back here. So I've got it lined up pretty good. And I'm just going to take my scissors and cut. This is the only scrap you're going to have. Now you could just cut tags, you could just cut ATCs, you could leave it whole, whatever you want to do. Okay, then I take my hole punch and let's make the hole. And there we have a tag. You could write on the back what you used to create. I like to do that sometimes. I'll write the ingredients, the supplies I used. This is the only waste that we have. And I don't even put that in the waste. I keep this because I can, oops, that came off. I can use this as a stem or something in my scraps. So it goes in the scraps. All right, and the other tag, we'll do the same thing. And there's your tag. All right, here's what we're gonna do. I pulled out some stamps that I carved. I've got my flower that I love. I need to carve some more flowers. I've got 2 of these little circular looking things. And I've got a leaf and another leaf. So I'm gonna stamp a variety onto printer paper. So I've got 2 pieces of printer paper, 1 for each of our set of cards. And I'm gonna use watercolor. And this is the watercolor I'm using. It is a watercolor ink by Artist Loft. I think I want to get rid of this paper. I'm going to use Stays On ink for my stamping. This is black Stays On. And I'm just going to ink it up. Put it down on my paper and mush it down. And there we go. We've got 1. Okay, here's my 2 papers. And I'm going to take my watercolor and I'm just going to start coloring in flowers and shapes. So let's do 1 together. I just use a regular old brush. Sometimes I will use a watercolor brush, depending on what I'm doing. But for this, I don't care. And I'm just going to dip my brush in the bottle. So whatever you're using, you know, do it however suits you. I just paint in. And it's okay if I leave a little space where I didn't get some color, because I'm going to bring in another color and it'll fill in. Okay. So now I want that light pink that's not really pink. Even in the bottle, I don't know how they come up with light pink. I just don't get it. But I'm going to go in those areas that I left open. I got these on clearance and I enjoy using them. Okay, so that'll dry and then I'll decide if I want to add more to it or not, but in the meantime I'm just going to keep going. Okay, my papers are colored in. What I want to do now is cut these out. So I have all my little pieces cut out and I went through and I applied each one to a card or tag or ATC that I wanted to use for that particular card. So they're all ready to go. I'm going to do one with you. I'll either use part of a piece or all of the piece. I'm going to look at my card and I'm going to see which direction I like. I kind of like it this way. I really like this dark green, so I might put it over here, but I hate to cover that pink. So maybe I'll put it up top so I can have everything. How about that? Why don't we do that? That way I can have the dark green, the pink, and this dark area here. I'm going to use Collage Podge. I tried to get some more Collage Podge today. I like using it for gluing down stuff, but they didn't have any at either place I was at, so I had to pick up some Mod Podge. I used to use Mod Podge all the time, and it sticks to everything, at least the one I had. I think I used glossy, which is a big mistake, but I got matte, so maybe matte will work, but we'll see. If it sticks, I will apply a varnish over it or something. But for now, we're going to finish up our Collage Podge. I still have some left in a bottle. And as I do this, I'm going to go ahead and do my whole card like this. So I'm sealing my card, so anything that I put on here is going to stay put now. So take off any of the extra that I don't need. I I have all my flowers down. I thought I'd show you them real quick while they're drying. But this one is gonna go this way, I think. Here's the other one. Could go that way. This tag for this one, this ATC, and this ATC. And then these are more wet because I've just got through working on those. This one. And then this one. And I messed up on the flower. Well, I didn't mess up. I just used more than I had planned. And this is all I had left of the flower. And I didn't like it on the ATC. So I just took 2 pieces that were left over from something else, like from here where I cut off the edge, and put 2 on there. And I like that. That's all I have left of all the flowers that I stamped and cut out. And then there's the tag. So I'm gonna let these dry, and then we'll take a Posca pen and we're just gonna go around and doodle on them, and I'm gonna come up with a word. So if you have a word that you like, or different words or sayings or whatever that you wanna put on yours, go get those. I think I'll probably use a stamp and stamp on my printer paper like I did on this, and just glue them on because I like that. It's simple. I have one more card to do. I've done all the other ones. I'm gonna do one with you so that I can show you what I did to finish them off. I just took a white Posca pen and I went around my flower or whatever other design I have on there, just doodling and putting in some marks just to highlight the flower. And then I did take a Posca pen that was a little bit bigger, and I just put dots in the middle. I'm going over dots that are already there. That's gotta dry. I did take the Arteza pen and I wrote little notes on some of them, not all of them, but if you do that, you just write wherever you want to write. And then I took a word. I used love, free, and explore, and I saved explore for this one in hopes that you guys were inspired to explore and try layering and not be so intimidated by it. I used to be intimidated by it, I understand. I still get some intimidation sometimes, but I have to just push through and say, oh, I'm just doing it. I've covered my dots, that's okay. Then I just have a Scarlet Line pen. These are old pens. I've got a few left from back when, I don't remember her name. But anyway, Scarlet Line was the company name, but the pens were great. Oh, and I took some Distress ink. This one is Crushed Olive, and I put it on my word. Then I take my white pen, kind of cover up the black a little bit because I don't really want most of it to look black. And that's all I did. So let me show you what the cards look like. This is the one I just did with you. Here's Explore, that one. There's Love. Here's an ATC, the other ATC, and the tag. That's one grouping. The other one, Free. There's Explore. It can go this way or this way. I like it this way because that's the way I wrote. And this one, ATC. I kind of like it this way, but it could go either way. And this. I'm going to use Walnut Stain, and I'm just going to go around the edges like this. And some of it you won't see, but some of it you will. So I'm gonna go. I hope you guys have a great whatever it is. I will see you in the next video. And until then, keep layering. See you later. Bye-bye.